Rome was not built in a day. It seems true when we see the Roman conquest of Greece, which took 53 years. Yes, you heard that right. Starting at 200 BC and ending in 147 BC, a conquest that turned the Roman Republic into a Roman Empire ruled Greece for almost 4 centuries. Let's see this series of incidents during these years to know how Rome conquered Greece. In 500 BC, Rome was Italy's weakest and least significant power. Early Romans interacted with Greeks on a cultural level. Before Rome was formed, the area was influenced by Greek culture. The Romans adapted even the Greek combat styles. Rome eventually invaded and conquered Veii, its close neighbor, in 396 BC. A few years later, a Gaul called Brennus stormed Rome and terrified the populace for 6 months. He received thousands of pounds of gold in exchange for leaving Rome. Romans were so horrified that they thought about leaving the city and relocating to Veii. But they erected a huge wall around Rome for protection and went on an imperialist rampage. Within 50 years, they had conquered Greek-speaking nations in the neighboring areas. Naples, a Greek city, made a treaty with Rome to get protection against the Samnites, an Italian confederation that contended with Rome. In Italy, the Romans spread in all directions. However, the Romans saw this development as a local issue rather than a matter of power. The Romans had no desire to travel east. The Romans were attempting to unite Italy. Carthage was the second challenge. The First Illyrian War was the first non-Italian war involving the Greeks. Romans saw it as the end of piracy and the construction of buffer states between Roman and Illyrian interests. The Romans intended to concentrate on matters of life and death, such as the battle with Hannibal and Carthage. The Roman connection with the Greek world lasted a very long period. The conquest of the Greek world was a highly erratic process that occurred in fits and starts, with setbacks and shifts of momentum across several centuries. Greece was not a united front. Modern Greece was a patchwork of kingdoms, city-states, and coalition groups that were not linked by a strong, internationally recognized domain. After Alexander, the Macedonian kingdom was the most powerful single force in mainland Greek politics. Still, it frequently faced opposition and rebellion from older powers such as Athens, Sparta, Thebes, Corinth, and some local groups such as the Aetolian League and the Achaean League. Following Alexander's death, the Greek world broke into rival factions commanded by his former generals, the Seleucid, the Ptolemaic, and the Macedonian. They were continuously vying with and battling one another. So many minor towns and cities played the large kingdoms off against one another because none of them was powerful enough to rule without local proxies. This led to a very irregular pattern of ad hoc alliances and betrayals. The Ptolemies' generous financial backing of anti-Macedonian groups was another factor in mainland Greece's dislike of the Macedonians. Greece was dominated by Macedonia, which the rebellious people disliked. Rome, meanwhile, sourced its soldiers from the vast and financially secure Italian countryside. Greek troops were expert warriors. The Greek powers did have technological and tactical advantages in the early years of the Greek-Roman battles, such as stronger ships, more sophisticated weapons, and more varied tactics, including elephants, archers, slingers, and light soldiers. While the Romans chose to stay with cavalry and medium infantry, the Romans often showed greater strategic patience. They stayed focused on their goals and weren't as inclined to get sidetracked by factionism or disputes about royal family successions. They were able to make treaties with opponents rather than fighting them. The Kingdom of Macedon, commanded by Philip V, was the dominant force on the Greek mainland. He was a youthful, active monarch keen to expel the Romans from Greek territory. It became inevitable that the superpowers would battle. The Romans emerged in Italy when the Greeks were in decline. The Greeks began to perceive Rome as a danger as it gained strength. Parts of Greece sided with Carthage against Rome in 215 BC. Rome started a war with Macedonia. Both the Battle of Pydna in 168 BC and the Battle of Cynocephalae in 197 BC saw them triumph against Macedonia. The Romans were at war with Hannibal, the general of the Carthaginians, while Philip was battling in Greece. The Romans were extremely worried when Philip and Hannibal signed a treaty to overthrow Rome. The youthful consul Titus Quintius Flaminius was in charge of overseeing the Second Macedonian War for Rome. He quickly dragged Philip V to his knees because he was a capable general and a cunning politician. After Philip V was defeated in the First and Second Macedonian War, Macedonia was a mere shell of what it once was. The Greek states started seeking assistance and counsel from the Roman Senate. Rome managed to maintain its position of authority in Greece even without an army. Perseus, the final king of Macedon, succeeded his father Philip V after his death in 179 BC. He was forced into battle by the Romans and, following his loss, was imprisoned in Italy, and what was left of Macedon was split into 4 republics. 22 years after Macedon's last loss in 168, it was Greece's time. The devastation of Corinth, a representation of Greek resistance, cemented the Roman conquest. The Battle of Corinth was only the beginning, though. Rome did not instantly rule all of Greece after conquering Corinth. Rome gradually expanded its influence over Greece since every Greek city-state was autonomous. A loose alliance of northern city-states, the Achaean League, was dismantled by its triumph against Corinth. This made it possible for the Romans to conquer the remainder of the Greek peninsula. Rome initially proclaimed Macedonia as the northernmost region, a Roman province. The invaders steadily expanded their control over other Greek towns from this base of operations through conflict and diplomacy. The conquest was over when Augustus Caesar annexed the whole Greek peninsula to Achaea as a province in 27 BC. It's noteworthy to note that after Rome had conquered Greece, it was Greek culture that had an impact on Roman civilization. Despite being defeated, the Greek civilization had a significant impact on Roman culture. Much of Greece, which had been devastated by war during the past centuries, was restored by the Romans. Julius Caesar and Augustus erected the Roman Agora as part of the reconstruction of Athens. Roman commander Marcus Agrippa constructed the Agrippa, a huge performance venue, around 15 BC. In 132 AD, Hadrian finished the temple of Olympian Zeus and built a library. The Romans highly regarded Greek culture. Rich Romans hired Greek tutors to instruct their kids. Roman literature of the period was likewise affected by the literature and knowledge of Greece. The period from 31 BC to 180 AD in Greece under the Roman Empire is known as the Pax Romana, a Roman peace between Rome and the core territories of Greece. It is considered one of stability and prosperity, allowing economic and cultural growth, particularly in Athens, Corinth, Alexandria, Miletus, Thessaloniki, and Smyrna. The urban Greek aristocracy reappeared due to a decentralized Roman provincial government, and they also had the power to vote in the Roman Senate. The Romans accepted Greek culture, and Latin and Greek became the empire's official languages. This is how the Romans conquered Greece and established a Greco-Roman empire. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked the video, check out other historical videos on our channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you don't miss out on such interesting topics.